Welcome to the chapter 2 of this course, and in this one we're going to be creating these animations. We're going to be covering a lot of cool tips and tricks in this chapter, and we're going to be solving problems that you've never seen before, or you've come across them but you couldn't find a solution. And by the end of this chapter, you'll be able to learn how to do all of these shots easily right here in Blender. Let's start creating the geometry node system for the displacement, the effect that you see in the first shot. Open up geometry node. The shading is already done, so you don't need to worry about that. And now let's create a new geometry node system on this. And before I do that, let me just make my viewport a little bit bigger so that you can see it 1.25. I hope that's fine. Let's save the preferences and that's it. Now I'm going to create a new system on this. And right here we need a set position node. I'm also going to add a subdivision surface, but it's going to make this geometry very dense and the viewport is going to be slow. So for this problem to solve, I'm going to add in a switch node. So whenever we are in the viewport, the geometry is going to be low poly, and when we start rendering, it's going to be the high poly mesh. So I'm going to add in a subdivision surface node. In the true value, I'm going to connect this input directly. Now in the switch, I'm going to add in a is viewport node, so it's only in the viewport. Now you can see if I mute the node, the geometry gets very dense. So that's the problem solved. Let's hit Ctrl J and group that over here. Now we want to displace this geometry. So for that, I'm going to use a Voronoi texture. And this is going to be F2, I think. And the randomness is going to be 0. And now in the offset, let's add in a vector math node. So we can scale this geometry along the normals with a Voronoi texture. So I'm going to add in a normal node. And right here, connect the distance to the vector. And I'm going to set this to scale. You can see it's too crazy right now, but when I connect the distance to the scale, it looks like this. Now what I can do is duplicate the scale node and bring the scale down just like that. So you can see we're getting somewhere, but it's not correct yet. So one more thing we need to do is to specify the areas where we need the displacement and remove the ones that we don't need. So let's hide the geometry nodes modifier. Let's go to the edit mode first. I'm going to go to the face select mode so that I can see it. And you can see in this geometry, we have this area that I want to displace. I'm going to leave the screen and I'm going to leave this camera area right there. So I have selected it by hitting L on this, and in the linked, I'm setting it to seam. So it's going to select them by every seam. So once these are selected, go to the vertex groups and create a new vertex group. I have already created it before, so I'm going to remove it and let's add it again and rename it to displacement or whatever you want and assign it. Now go to object mode again. I'm going to add in another scale node. So duplicate that one. And in the modifiers, make sure to turn the modifier on right here. For this scale node, we're going to use our vertex group. So let's get in a named attribute. And here we can access our vertex group. It is going to be that. You can see the name here. Connect that to the scale. You can just bring down this scale like this, and we're getting somewhere. Now this vertex group is very sharp. So I'm going to add in a blur attribute node and make sure you're using the latest version of Blender so that you can access this node. I'm going to put it right here. Set the iterations to 25. And now you can see if I mute this node with M, the difference right there. You can see it's working. After the Voronoi texture, I'm going to add in a color ramp to make it a little bit defined. And yeah, right. This looks good. Now you can give it any texture or any look that you want. I'm going to go with this. Now let me try and subtract something from this Voronoi texture. So I'm going to mute my color ramp and duplicate the scale node, set it to subtract, and set it to 0.5. Okay, I think this looks good. Let's remove the color ramp for now. You can bring up the scale now. Now we want to transition between a smoother surface to this displaced one. For that, what we need is a noise texture and this scale node. So just duplicate that And right here, we're going to get in a noise texture. Connect the factor to the scale. We're also going to get a color ramp, which is make the effect a little bit defined. I'm going to set the linear to ease and play with these values a little bit. Bring them back and forth to see what it looks like. The detail is going to be 0 and the scale is going to be 4. Let's try this. So after the factor, I'm going to add in a math node and let's play with this value. If I bring it back, you can see it's revealing my displacement. You can set this to 40 and play around with the WS ladder to get a different animation. Right here, we have more subdivisions on that. So if I mute the switch node, this is how it's going to look like in the final render. You can see how cool this is. I'm going to unmute my switch node to be able to work here in the viewport. Now the effect is done. I'm going to get in a input node, group input, and connect the value right here to the black dot right there so that I can access it from here and then animate the values. I also want the color of these displaced areas to be orange or something, just some different color. Yeah, let's add in a store named attribute node so that we can store our noise and then get it in the shading. Right here, I'm going to give it a name, something like anything you want that's easy for you. I'm going to give it something like color. Get this color ramp, connect it to the value right there. And now let's go to the shading tab. This is the material that I have given it. You'll see here we have an attribute right there. In the name, you're going to give it the name that you just added in geometry nodes. So it was color, so I'm going to type color here. Now, if you go to the material view, you can see that we're already getting the color on the displaced areas. And it updates when I change my value, which we will be animating. Now you can also go to geometry nodes and tweak the color for this area, like make it smoother. So just connect this math node directly to the value right here, and it will be more subtle and not that sharp. If you want to make it a little bit sharp, you can get another color ramp and make it ease and play with the values a little bit. And that's the effect. And now we're gonna get into animations, camera movements, and all that. I'm gonna hide the modifier first. It will make the viewport slow and we don't need it yet. First of all, we need a new tab here so that we can see our camera view. I'm going to hide this and this right here. We don't need it. And now we're going to set up our camera and product. So I'm going to go to the x-axis right here and Shift A, add in a camera. So the camera is aligned to the x-axis. Then GX, bring it back. And in the camera settings, we're going to set the focal length to 85. In the viewport display, let's bring up this a little bit. Rotate the phone on the x-axis, RX, 45 degrees. Go to the camera view here. Then I'm going to hit RZ 45. Let's hit double R. And that's the rotation that we're looking for. So now I'm going to bring it up a little bit. Now let's get in a controller for the camera. So let's Shift A, empty, and we're going to get a sphere. F2 to rename it to camera controller. We're going to select the camera, and then we're going to select the empty, and hit Control P, keep transform. So it's parented to the empty right there, and we can rotate it with double R to get crazy angles from this product. I'm going to select the empty and the camera, M to move it to a new collection, and it's going to be our camera collection. And this collection is going to be my product. Let's give it a color too. Now, the first shot was like zooming in, and we're just starting the effect of displacement. Rotate the camera, just hit RZ and flip it around, then hit double R, and then hit R, then double R again. So it's like rotating and finding a good angle. And I'm going to hit S to scale the empty, then it will zoom out. The camera will be far from the subject. Now that is the way to do it. Scale it up just like that. And we're going to start zooming in on this. Hit double R to give it some angle, and your scene should look like this in the first frame. So now insert, location, rotation, and scale. Let's scale it back a little bit more so it's far from the camera, and insert location, rotation, and scale. Then on frame 10, scale it down a little bit, slightly, just like this, and hit double R. So it's like this sideways a little bit, but not too much. So hit double R and make it just like that. It's like a subtle rotation and a little bit of scale. And on frame 11, we're gonna go crazy with the scale and all that and bring it near to the camera. On frame 11, scale the empty down, just like this, and insert location, rotation, and scale. Now go to frame 2 and insert rotation. We want this rotation to be on frame 11. So let's just grab this keyframe and put it on top of 11. And if I play this, that's what I want. Now on frame 17, I'm gonna do the same thing again. I want a few clicks and zooms like that. Let's scale it down a little bit and hit double R again to give it some sideways rotation, and insert location, rotation, and scale. Now on frame 18, you're gonna get the rotation back from that frame. So on frame 12, insert rotation keyframe and move this rotation keyframe on top of this one. So we're getting the rotation from here. So this is how it looks like. And let's grab it back a little bit. Now on frame 19, I'm gonna scale it again. Now let's insert location, rotation, and scale. Right here on frame 12, insert rotation keyframe and move this rotation keyframe on top of the last one. This might be confusing, but we're getting rotations from the areas where it was not rotated, like we're just getting the benefit of our older keyframes. See, when you're right here, look at the rotation of the product. If I want this rotation, I can just go right here, insert a rotation keyframe, and I have this rotation saved already, and I can put it on top of any keyframe to give that keyframe that rotation. And its own scale values and location values are going to be the same, and they won't change. So now let's play that. So right here, I think it's zooming too much, so I'm going to scale it back a little bit. Scale up and insert location, rotation, and scale. Right here, scale this up as well. Bring it back a little bit. Insert location, rotation, and scale. I'm going to scale this back. I want 3 clicks here before it reaches the camera right there. So insert location, rotation, and scale. And in this click, it's going to be the final one. So you can see these clicks right there. On frame 27, I'm going to scale it down a little bit subtly and hit double R to rotate it just like that sideways. Insert location, rotation, and scale. Now from frame 20, we're going to get this rotation. I like that. Insert rotation keyframe. Get this rotation keyframe and put it right here on 28. It's the last one. And now I'm going to scale it down just like this. Bring it down a little bit to center it. And scale it down to zoom it all the way in, because that's the last click. And insert location, rotation, and scale. So this is the animation we got. So it's zooming in, focusing on the product, and then it's showing that cool effect. I think the animation right here is kind of slow, and I'm going to move these keyframes back a little bit. So these two are going to come over here to 16, and these are going to be on 24, 25, like this. And on 35, I'm going to rotate the product, flip it, and show the back side of it, where we're going to do the displacement effect. So hit double R, rotate it like that, R to rotate it this way, double R again, and bring your mouse back just like this. Get this kind of rotation. Scale it down a little bit and insert location, rotation, and scale. Now look at that. So it's rotating like this. I'm going to scale it up a little bit so that it's a little bit back there. and then insert location, rotation, and scale on frame 25. And let's hit double R to give it some tilt. Scale it down so it looks like it's coming out of the screen. Not really, but you can see the effect. I'm gonna get frame 33, insert location, rotation, and scale, and we want to steal this. We want to make it a new frame and create our animation with it, our slow shot. So let's get these two keyframes. 33 is gonna be placed on top of 35. So bring it back just like this, and we're gonna get the last one and bring it over all the way to frame 150. It's a bit long, but it works. Now on frame 150, I'm gonna make it a bit better here, so let's scale it up. Insert location, rotation, and scale. See how that looks like. Okay, scale it up a little bit more. Give it some cool rotation. Insert these again. On frame 80, insert location, rotation, and scale. On frame 81, we're going to zoom it in just like this. Insert location, rotation, and scale. On frame 100, let's select this keyframe, Shift D to duplicate it right here, and now hit double R to rotate it a little bit and scale it down as well. Or I think we should scale it back, scale it up. Now insert location, rotation, and scale. And on frame 81, I'm going to scale it down a little bit so it's zoomed in and then it goes back and zoomed out. Insert location, rotation, and scale. On frame 101, we're going to select our last keyframe, which is 80, and duplicate it right here so we get our old angle before, which was not zoomed in. Now let's see that. I think the zooming out here is a lot, so I'm going to scale it up a little bit so that the zooming is very little. Insert location, rotation, and scale. Let's play that. The rotation is a lot too. So on the middle, we're going to insert a rotation keyframe and bring it over to frame 100. Now let's see that. Let's play the whole thing. On frame 80, I'm going to scale it down. Insert location, rotation, and scale. Let's play that. I think I like this. Frame 35, let's scale it down a little bit more and insert those. You can extend this zooming in if you just select these two keyframes and bring them right here and make this space in between a little bit bigger. Then the animation right here will be longer, but it depends on what you like. I made it longer right here, you can see. And that's good. Let's do the effect as well. So I have selected this object, save the file, and turn on the modifier on it. We're going to start the animation from frame 32. Bring this value back until it looks flat and insert this value keyframe. Come over here to frame 135 and bring the value up so the whole effect is appearing and the displacement completes. And insert this keyframe. Now let's play this. You can see the viewport is kind of slow because we have this geometry nodes happening on this. So whenever you want to animate more shots, you're going to have to turn this off temporarily, but it will be on in the render view. So now let's move on to the next shot. The frames that we're going to be using here are going to be like 280 or something. Now let's hide the modifier. Now from frame 150 to 166, we're gonna animate this phone, flip it, and bring it down like it's falling. So insert location and rotation. because we only need those. And in frame 166 or 165, you're going to flip the phone just like that, rotate it, and rotate it like this too, so that it's not too tilted and it looks like it's falling down. Center it and bring it down just like this. Don't bring it down too much because it will be faster. And insert, location and rotation. Now if we play that, I like this. On frame 166, we're going to transition to another scene, and in that scene, the phone will look like it's falling down from up. So you want to make sure that the phone leaves the camera on frame 165. So let's select the phone, select the last keyframe, and bring it back until it looks like it's leaving on 165. So we're going to have to bring it back to 173 or something. It's too slow now. I'm going to bring back the keyframe a little bit to 170. We're going to go to the output properties, and in the frame rate, we're going to make it 30 FPS. Now you can see the animation is faster. You can see it's leaving on 160 something like that. I'm going to select the camera controller, and on 165, insert a location, rotation, and scale keyframe. And on 166, we're changing the scene and bringing down the camera. So let's hit GZ and bring it down right here. Now we will make the product enter from above just like that. Insert, location, rotation, and scale. Now we want to create a new scene here. It will be like a few soft bodies kind of objects on the ground, and the product will interact with that, kind of push it down. It will be like a bouncy kind of motion, which will push it up again. And then we're going to show 3 different colors of the product in a dynamic way. Now we want to enter the product into the scene. So you can see this is the transition. Right here, select the product. And frame 166, insert location and rotation, and delete this one. We don't need it anymore. And that's it. Now on frame 180, we're going to bring down the product, rotate it all the way, just like this. Bring it up a little bit, give it some tilt, put a double R. And I like this rotation, and insert location, rotation, and scale. We're going to select the camera controller as well, and on frame 166, I want the shot to be a little bit wide, so let's scale the empty to bring back the camera, and insert location, rotation, and scale. Now let's play that. Now it looks kind of wide. You can see the product looks smaller here. I'm going to scale it up a little bit more, and insert location, rotation, and scale. That is it. We want some soft bodies here, and we want the product to interact with it. So let's create those. First of all, I'm going to create one, and then we're going to add some other to the scene. Shift S cursor to select it, Shift add an A. I'm going to go with a cube. Let's scale up the cube, hit Ctrl 4 to give it 4 number of subdivisions. Right there, just bring it down, place it over here. And I'm going to go with something like this. So it's on the corner right there, and yeah, your scene should look like this. I'm going to be faking the simulation of interaction with the product. So I'm going to apply the subdivision surface on the cube, hit tab to go to the edit mode, and right here, D Y-axis to bring it back a little bit. And then I'm going to select the edge right underneath the product. You can see this edge right here. I'm going to use proportional editing to create a interaction, and then we're going to use shape keys to make it move. So first, let's go to object data properties, and right here we have shape keys. Let's add a shape key and then add another one. Hit tab to go to the edit mode. Make sure you're in the second shape key. I'm going to turn on proportional editing right there, and make sure you have selected sharp. Now if I hit GZ, you can see what this is doing. Well, let's set the proportional size to 1.5 and check if that's working. I'm going to go to the camera view and then do it. I want something bigger, so make it 3. And then bring it down. Oh, I like this. It's working. But I would want something right here because it's too much in the middle and it doesn't look right. So let's go with this edge. Let's go to the object mode and bring the whole sphere right here to the edge right there so that we can displace this area only. And we're underneath this edge right now, so you can just select one vertex as well. That works too. Now if you hit GZ on the second key right there, you'll create a shape key like this. And now in the object mode, you can just slide this value and see that you got a very nice interaction going on. We're just going to connect the product with that vertex. Now hit Ctrl 1 to give it a subdivision surface to make it smoother, and right click Shade Smooth. I also want to connect the product to this vertex. So you have this vertex selected, go to Vertex Groups, create a new one. It's going to be my pin, and assign this. You want to pin this product to that vertex group. I'm going to bring this value down to 0 and select the product first. Then go to the Object Constraints tab. And right here, we're going to get in a child of constraint. First, select the sphere with that. Then select your vertex group, which was pin, and remove the scale, rotation, and location. Just leave the z-axis and remove everything else. Now you can see our product is kind of disappeared, or it's displaced right there. And just hit set inverse, it will be back in its own place. So set inverse. And now when you go to the shape keys on the sphere and play with this value, you can see that the product is attached to that vertex. And we're not going to be moving this sphere anywhere, so you don't need to worry about if the product is going to be, displaced while we're animating it. So yeah, we're just going to use it for this thing. We're going to animate this value while this is coming down. Just like this. Now I'm going to set the camera in a position that looks good. So scale it up a little bit more and bring it down. You can hit RZ to get a different view of that too. I like this one. Insert location, rotation, and scale. Select this keyframe and bring it back to this one so that it's replaced, and yeah, that's it. You want it to interact now, so when it's touching there, I just want the interaction to start right away. So you can see it's touching on this frame. So we're going to go to 178 frame. It might be different for you because sometimes the keyframes might be a little bit offsetted, but try to look at the scene, not the values, because they're always different and the scales are different. So try to look at the result that you're getting. Insert a keyframe on this shape key. Let's go to frame 215 or something and bring this value up just like this. Now let's see how this looks like. So it's kind of stopping there, and I don't want that. So for that issue, select the product first, and I want these two keyframes to be kind of starting slow and then getting faster. Let's hit Control Tab to go to the graph editor, and let's fix that over there. Select the first ends of these keyframes and bring them back on the y-axis by hitting GY. Let's play this now. So right here, I want the product to be already a little bit rotated, because you can see that when the camera is coming down to the next transition, the product is already in the scene. I don't want that. So with that, let's select this keyframe, bring it right here to frame 167 or something. Now let's play that. Double R to rotate it a little bit differently, and insert location and rotation. So I want to make this a little bit more dynamic, so select this sphere again, and we want to play with these two keyframes. So select the first keyframe and scale it down just like that to 0. And select the second one, this left handle of this, grab it right here. When it starts, it's very fast and then it gets slow. Let's play that. Yeah, that's it. Now right there, we just want to pop that up and go to the next scene. So bring the value down to 0, just like this, and just insert the keyframe. Let's see how that looks like. We can bring this back a little bit too, so yeah, that's it. On frame 218, I'm going to select this product again, insert location and rotation. And on frame 230, let's bring it up just like this, out of the scene, and insert location and rotation. Let's see that. I'm going to rotate it too, so RZ, and rotate this way. Now insert location and rotation. If you play this, it's kind of tilted that way, which I don't want. So let's rotate it like this and insert location and rotation. Now let's play this. I'm gonna hit double R to tilt it towards me just like that. Or then insert these again. Just try to get a nice look here. I'm gonna go to the graph editor and play around with these keyframes to make them faster at first. And then it gets slow like that. Select these last handles and grab it back just like this along the y-axis. Select these handles right there, G y-axis, and bring it back. Now when we play this, I like this. Let me just bring this keyframe back a little bit. I'm gonna hit GZ to bring it up a little bit more and insert location and rotation. And there you go. Just add a few more of these to your scene and you're done. Just duplicate this one, AX delete keyframes, and just remove this value, bring it back to 0. Right here, I'm gonna scale this up a little bit, bring it back, scale it up, and make your scene just like this. And this one is gonna be right here. Scale it down a little bit. Yeah. Wondering if I can bring it here. I can't fit it here, but that's okay. Let's just duplicate it again, scale it up, bring it down, grab it right here, scale it up a little bit more, and bring it down. And there we go. Just make a balanced composition, I think. Yeah. Let's play that. These things are going to be appearing in the first scene, so let's select them all, M to move it to a new collection, and just hide it forever. We're going to use it here too, so let's make it the balls. We're going to disable the collection, right-click and instance to scene. Now right here they are displayed, so let's hit Alt-G, and they're in place now. Go to the object properties, and right here in the visibility, we need to make it invisible in the areas that they're not supposed to be. So on 165, I'm going to hide them, insert these keyframes. On 166, I'm going to turn them on and insert these keyframes. And on frame 227, insert these keyframes, and 228, turn both of them off and insert them again. So this is how it looks like. We're going to start the next scene now. So right here, we need the product to go from down to up, just like that. Let's do that. First, we need to bring up the camera, right? For that, when we are in frame 227, so on 226, I'm going to insert a location, rotation, and scale keyframe on the camera controller. And on 227, we're going to bring up the camera controller just like that. So the product is right here, and insert location and rotation and scale. Now from there, we're going to bring the product up. So select the product and right there, insert location and rotation. We're going to delete this keyframe because we don't need it anymore. And on frame 250, just bring up the product, and I'm going to hit double R to rotate it that way and move it over here. You can just sort these whatever you want. This is going to be 3 duplicates of this product with different colors. So insert location and rotation. And I'm going to bring this keyframe back, I think, to 240 so that it's a bit faster. Right, I like this. Now, let's create 3 duplicates of this product. I'm going to go to the material preview first and make sure that you have turned on this geometry noise modifier on it. Now I'm going to duplicate this and rotate it just like that. RZ axis to rotate it a little bit more. And that's fine. Let's go to the timeline and insert location, location and rotation. We are going to get this keyframe and move it on top of this one right there. So it's on 240 now. RZ to rotate it, double R to rotate it like this. Now you can give it any rotation that you want. I'm gonna go with something interesting like this. And I hope this works. Just experiment with your scene, and insert location and rotation. Select the first one, and I'm gonna bring it over here a little bit. So that's it. Insert location and rotation. Play with this one as well. Insert the keyframes and sort this out in an interesting way, I think I like this. Insert location and rotation. I'm going to select the camera controller and right here, scale it down a little bit, move it right here. You can rotate it along the Z-axis too, so to get a nice rotation here, I'm going to scale it down all the way just like this, and insert location, rotation, and scale. Select this keyframe, move it on top of this one, so that right away it looks like this. Now the scene is kind of dense, so we can't really get a real-time animation of this, but we're going to do a viewport render animation to preview the whole thing. Let's give all of them a different color. So this one is going to be kind of a bluish one. Click this button and come over here to the color ramp, and right here choose a different color. I'm going to choose this. Select this one, copy the material in the color ramp, choose a different color. So I'm going to choose white in this one. Let's come back in the timeline. So right here, so these two are the ones that are duplicated. So I'm going to hide them in the first shots. So for that, select this one first. Make sure it's selected right there. Go back a few frames so it's hidden and it's not in the camera anymore. Go to the object properties and in the visibility, add both of these keyframes. Go back a frame, remove both of them, and insert them again. Now I'm going to select this one, go back to 228, right here insert these two, go back a frame and hide them and insert them again. So in the first scenes it won't be visible, and that's great. Now if you want to preview your animation and see how it looks like in real time, you need to set this percentage to 50% and just do a quick viewport render animation. So go to view and viewport render animation. And see how this looks like. Hit Ctrl F11. I want to make the stopping smoother. So for that, I use this method a lot. Now go back to frame 238. Select all three of them and insert location and rotation. Select these two keyframes and move them to 240. Now select the last one and move it over to 270. Now let's turn off the modifiers on it for now. Save the file and let's preview that. You can see it's not just stopping, it's like in a smooth motion after going up. Look at that. It's looking amazing. Now on frame 280, I want to rotate the camera to one product and match the shapes with the last shot. It looks a little bit similar, and when we transition to the next shot of the cloth simulation, it will look very smooth. And yeah, let's insert location, rotation, and scale in 270. And you can also rotate it a little bit just like this, scale it down a little bit, and insert location, rotation, and scale. And there we got a little bit of motion in the camera as well. Now on 280, we're gonna hit double R on the camera controller, R to rotate like this, and hit double R again. Just straight the camera here and get a look that will fit and look same when we do the last shot right there. So rotate it, scale it. Make sure the size of the phone matches in the both of the scenes. So like that is a location, rotation, and scale. So now we're going to do the final cloth effect, which is going to be awesome. I really like that effect, and let's do that. First of all, we need the phone model. So to use that, let's go over here to frame 39 or something, like in the beginning of the animation. Hit Ctrl C on this product. I'm going to save the file, and right here, go to scene and click this button, create a new scene. First of all, we want to create a plane which will be our cloth. But before that, let's Ctrl V and paste our model here. I'm going to select this product, hit Ctrl I and delete everything else. Select the product again, A, X and delete all the keyframes. Alt R to clear all the rotations and turn on the geometry nodes modifier on it and bring up the value all the way just like this. And you can just apply this modifier or do this effect again in this scene as well. But I'm going to just hide it for now. Now what I want to do is I want a camera on top right here. So let's get in a camera. Make sure you add the camera in the Z-axis so that it's looking straight down, or you can just hit Alt R to make it look like that. Now go to the camera view here, GZ to bring up the camera. Make sure your product is centered well. Select the camera, go to the camera settings, and right here in the focal length, we're going to make it 85 millimeters. Now bring back the camera right here, and I think this looks good. Now I'm going to insert location only. We don't need a camera controller for this camera because it's just a simple motion. The end frame is going to be 120. You can extend it if you want, but I'm just going to do 120 frames and bring down the camera a little bit to zoom it in. Insert location. Control tab to go to the draft editor. I want the starting of this animation to be faster. So select this handle right here, grab it back, and that's all you gotta do. I like this. Let's hit Shift A, add in a plane. Let's scale up the plane just like this. Hit tab to go to the edit mode, scale along the x-axis so it fills in. Control R to give it a loop cut. Select everything and just subdivide it now. Hit Shift R 2 times, then again and again once more. And do it once more. So these are the vertices we need for now. And what I found out about simulations is they don't work quite well with smaller objects. So I'm going to select all the objects in my scene, go to the pivot point settings or something, and I'm going to set it to 3D cursor. So it's scaling from my 3D cursor. Hit S and 2.5, and that is good to go. Let's apply the scale on this plane. Now we want to create a pin group and all that for the cloth, so the whole masking is going to be done in geometry nodes. Let's do that first. I want to create curves like this, some masks around this thing. First of all, I'm going to go to geometry nodes right here. And on the plane, we are going to create a new geometry node system. This is going to be used for our pinning. Now save your file, and right there, let's create a plane and give it a bevel. So Shift A, add a plane, scale it up, go to edit mode, scale Y-axis. So make sure all the edges are even, so this distance and this distance is similar. Hit tab, right here, get in a bevel modifier. It doesn't work on planes, but when you set it to vertices, it will work. And just bring up the segments. Let's hit the x-axis to center it out. Let's hit tab. I'm going to hit X and delete only faces right here. Now select all of this, hit Shift D, SX to scale it up on the x-axis, then SY-axis, scale it up like that too. And there we got the second one. Now I'm going to select the plane and hit tab, hit 2, and we're going to select edges here that we need for the pinning. Alt and click this to select the whole loop right here, and then over here as well. So you're going to select loops, and just like this, we're creating kind of straps in here. And you can give it any shape that you want, but I'm going to go with this. I'm also going to select the end edges right here too. So let's select this as well, and select this as well, and this one as well. Now I'm going to go to the vertex groups and create a new vertex group. Name it to something like K and assign it here. We're going to create another vertex group as well, which is going to be called pin. And don't assign that to anything. Now on this plane, I'm going to get a subdivide mesh node to subdivide it once, so that we can get some subdivisions for the proximity. Let's get a store named attribute node. And this is going to be stored on top of my pin group. So get this pin from here. And then we're going to use this pin group in the cloth physics. So first of all, we want proximity from these edges. So get this plane, you can see this is selected, and make it a relative. So any vertex very near to this will be pinned. Let's get a proximity node, geometry proximity. This is going to be edges, and Control Shift click on this, and then Control Shift click on this distance as well 2 times. So this will be distance. Get a color ramp. and make it constant. Bring this value back so that it's very thin. You can give it more resolution too, but it will make it very slow. Let's get in a math node. I'm going to set it to multiply and get in a named attribute, which is going to be the K group. So let's get K here and connect that attribute to the value. Let's make it add instead of multiply. Why doesn't this look good? Okay, so I set it to subtract and it worked. Let's duplicate this color ramp and make these values a little bit harder, just like that. You can even make these things thinner by doing the subdivision inside edit mode and not here. So if I remove this subdivide mesh node and I hit tab, select everything, right click and subdivide. Now I'm going to hide the geometry nodes for a little bit. Go to my groups and in the K, I'm going to click the select button. It selected my edges right here. You can see it's too thick right now. So if I hit 2 and control minus, it's one edge right now and it works. So this is already assigned. So I'm going to hit control I and remove everything else. So right here, click remove and then hit control I again and assign it. So in case it's not working, it will be good. Now let's just preview this node again. Make sure the modifier is turned on and preview this. It's very thin now. Add in a multiply node here, math and multiply, and make these values a little bit like darker and stronger. So this is the mask that we got. And we're going to use this mask for the cloth pinning. But before we do that, in my experiment, it was like it's starting from here and then it grows like that. So for that animation, we need to do a couple of things and let's do it right away. Before that, I want some proximity down below here with the product. So let's select the plane and import the product as well. Import it right here. And we're going to use the same proximity method here. So duplicate these two nodes. Set this to faces and connect the geometry to the target. This is going to be relative as well. If we preview these attributes, Ctrl-Shift click on the color ramp and then Ctrl-Shift click on this group input as well. It's not doing anything yet because if you bring that back, it will start to affect the geometry. Let's pin our geometry system and select the phone. Bring it down a little bit so that it's not intersecting, but it's on top of the plane. That is good. Select the plane now and play with the color ramp now. So I think I like this proximity for that. Now I'm going to add this to my previous system right here, which looked like this. So how can we do that? Well, I think you can just multiply it and it will work. Let's Shift D to duplicate the subtract node, set it to multiply, connect the color to the value right here. Now, the cloth reads the white values to be pinned and the black values to be not pinned. So we want to invert the values to be able to pin the right areas. So right here, I'm going to add in a Boolean math node and set this to not and connect that to the value. So the values are all flipped. I'll just play with these nodes to get it right. Now we want to create these small chunks for each area. So whenever I want to simulate this area only, I want some proximity on that. So we're going to create small planes for each of these areas to make that work. Let me show you how you can do it. It's a little bit confusing, but it's very easy to do. First of all, let's remove this viewer node. I'm going to connect this knot to the value right here. Remove this reroute and bring it here. I'm going to select this object and hit tab to go to the edit mode. L to select these points right here. And I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate it and P to separate by selection. Now select this small piece right here. Control A, Visual Geometry to mesh. Hit tab and hit 1, select everything and F to fill it. Now I'm going to hit E to extrude it up. Select everything and bring it down a little bit. I'm going to select this one, hit tab, select L on this point, Shift D to duplicate it, P to separate by selection, select that part only, Control A and Visual Geometry to mesh. Now if you hit tab, select everything, F to fill it, Then go to the object mode, and right here I'm going to add in a Boolean modifier and select this object that we just made with it, and hit Ctrl A to apply the Boolean modifier. So this is the piece that we got now. You can see this is the one. So we're going to activate this piece on a certain time, and the area under that will be simulated. So I'm going to hit tab on this one now, and hit 3 to select this upper face, X to delete vertices. Now, set the pivot point to 3D cursor, select everything and scale Z to 0. So we got this piece and we got this piece as well. So I'm going to select these two pieces, M to move it to a new collection, and this is going to be my chunks or something, because we're going to use this for the simulation later. So a new collection is better. And we want to create more chunks as well, so let's hide the chunks collection. I'm going to hit tab on this plane, and everything that comes in between this is going to be that chunk thing. So how can we make that? Go to the edge select mode with hitting 2, Ctrl I on all of them, and hit 3. Now we have these faces in here. Now hit Shift D and hit P to separate by selection. You want to scale it along the y-axis first so that it's crossing like that. We want each chunk kind of thing in pair, so first of all, I'm going to turn on the chunks collection and I'm going to hide my plane for now. So right here we got this piece. You can see how this looks like. I'm going to add in a solidify modifier on this so that I can boolean my plane with it. So turn it up a little bit and bring up the offset so it's on the middle. So we got this thing right here, and I want to cut this with that. And remove the geometry noise modifier from this forever. And let's add in a boolean. Select this solidified thing with it so that we can make a hole in this. Okay, let's make it fast and hit Ctrl A to apply the boolean. Select this one and remove the solidify from it. And hit tab, hit L on this and X vertices. So we got this piece ready. I'm going to hit P and selection. Now we're going to hit tab on these objects, L right here and L right here as well. P selection. Hit tab. We're going to separate them in pairs. So select these, L, L, P selection. I'm going to select L on this one and L on this one as well, and hit P to separate by selection. So I was creating these parts, and these are going to be used for the simulation, right? So before that, what I want to do is also right here, I want to scale them a little bit so that there is no gap in between. Hit L on this, and I'm going to hit dot right here and make it median point. Then scale x-axis, and one by one, I'm going to scale them all so that they fit in there. And now for the other side, I'm just going to mirror this. Let's select all of them, hit tab, Alt Z, and select these vertices, X delete vertices. And I'm going to hit tab. Now right here, I'm going to add in a mirror modifier, and that one is done. You can see the other ones are selected, and this one is active. Now I hit Ctrl L and copy modifiers. So all of them are copied. Now select this object and bring it back this side of it a little bit. Gray x-axis, and that is it. So we got these little pieces right there, which we're going to use now for the collage simulation. So select them all, and M to move it to the chunks collection. Select the product, M to move it to the product collection. We're going to create a new one, which is going to be named as product. And let's select these two objects, move it to a cloth collection, because it's going to be used for the simulation only. And move this plane over here as well. Select the camera, move it to a camera collection. So that is it, the collections are done. And now we're going to bring down each piece in a certain frame, so they're going to start simulating. So if I bring this down and the cloth is baked, then this part will be simulated. So when this is down, this part is going to be simulated. So whenever these parts are here, the cloth is going to stay on its place. It's going to be flat. And when I bring them down one by one, it's going to be simulated. So on frame 5, insert location, and on frame 6, just bring it down like that and insert location again. Now on frame 15, select the second one, insert location, and on frame 16, bring it down just like that, and insert location again. On frame 25, select this one, insert location, and on frame 26, I'm going to bring it down and insert location. On frame 35, let's select this one, insert location. 36, bring it down, insert location. Now on 45, select this one, insert location. On 46, bring it down, insert location. 55, select this one, insert location. 56, bring it down, insert location. 65, select this one, insert location. 66, bring it down, insert location. Now you can select all of them and make the keyframes a little bit, offset them. Okay, how much difference do I have in there? Yeah, this is looking good. So one by one they're coming down, and that place is going to be simulated. So one of them is already down. Why? Let's go to 35 and hit Alt G on insert location. So now one by one they're coming down. You can offset these keyframes and make the gap longer in between them, and the animation will be longer. Let's select all the keyframes here and S to scale it up. Let's just hide the chunks collection forever, and we're going to import it to Geometry Nodes now. Alt H to reveal my plane here, which is going to be simulated. So right here, I'm going to Control Shift click on this knot, Control Shift click on this as well. Now right here, we're going to make the whole thing white with those chunks. And whenever a plane is going down, that place is going to be turning black and simulated. Make it relative, realize instances first, proximity node, and set to faces. That's good. Well, let's get in a math node here, set it to multiply, I think, and connect the distance to the multiply. So if I preview this first and Control Shift click on the group as well, this is how it looks like. Let's get in a color ramp. You can see if I go through my timeline, it's working. And the white values are increasing, but I don't want that. I want the black values to be increasing. So let's get a Boolean math not node here and connect that to the value. And I'm going to set the color ramp to constant and bring back the white value to crisp that. But we also need our lines in here, because I don't want the whole thing to inflate. I want the pinning lines in there. We're just going to have to add them in here. So connect the Boolean math not node right here to the multiply. Now let's preview this multiply. So look at this. Okay, I want everything to be white right here. So let's make it add instead of multiply and play this. The alpha is done. This is how the alpha should look like. Otherwise, it will not work. Now this mask will unpin them one by one and it will be simulated. Let's go to the solid view and remove this viewer node. So I'm going to start with the cloth simulation over here. I'm going to apply a cloth on this plane. The simulation speed is going to be 0.3 or 0.2. I'm going to make it 0.3. And the vertex mass, let's make it 0.2 kg. Let's go to the pressure and give it a pressure of 25. In the cache, I'm going to set the end frame to 120. Turn on disk cache. Save the file, of course. Go to shape and select that pin group right there, which we made in the geometry nodes. Let's turn the shrinking factor down to -0.3, which will make the cloth so that it's shrinking and it's creating those creases kind of things, and it looks very clothy, I think. I'm going to turn on the self collisions, and you can bring up the quality to something like 8 or 5. And I think this is it for the cloth settings. I'll try this at first and see if that works or not. Now let's go to frame 1 right here. So Control S to save the file and bake the simulation by clicking the bake button. Alright, now let's check how the simulation looks like. Go to frame 1 back and play this. We are successful. Right click shade smooth and hit Control 1 to give it a subdivided surface so that in the end it looks smoother, and it's right there. That's it. That's the simulation. I can't believe I did it in the first try, but yeah, that's it. The camera is kind of zoomed in because we did that scaling and it didn't quite scale well. So for that, what I'm going to do is go to the object properties, and I want to keep the animations, so go to the delta transform. And in the location, I'm going to bring it up just like this to 10 meters or something, a little bit more, like 30 meters. Bring it up until it looks good. Go to frame 1 right here and bring it up. So something like 40 meters works fine. And if you play this now, you can see this is very satisfying. I love it. You can do a lot of things in Blender, and this course is just a little bit of all those things, but I think I'm gonna add more chapters. I don't know. If you guys liked it and many people started this course, I'm sure I'm gonna make a lot of chapters in here and create some awesome stuff in here. And I'll see you in lighting and rendering this sequence. Hello, and now let's do some simple lighting here to make it look good. First of all, go to the World tab and bring down the strength to 0. Now I'm gonna go to the rendered view by hitting Z and go to the rendered. Now you can see it's all dark and there's nothing in here, so we need to add in a light, and this is going to be an area light. And let's do this in Eevee, so Z shading, and I'm going to go right here, turn on the scene lights and scene world. Now bring up the light, GZ, scale it up just like this. What I always do is I add a light on top of the object, and in the power, let's make it 300. That's going to be enough. Let's add one opposite to the camera. So hit Shift D. And I think I'm going to bring it right here. Hit double R to move it right there. This is okay. Now also you can duplicate the light and move it there. And I think this looks fine. So when I play this, look at that. I'm going to turn on my geometry node system on this. Select the camera first, go to the viewport display and turn up the pass part out so we're not including any edges. And then I'm going to turn on the render region as well. Go to the rendered view. Make sure you have cycles and GPU compute and all these settings. I'm going to make the max render samples to 300 and the max viewport samples to 200 for now, right? Let's okay, I think it's the problem with some kind of attribute here. So let's just remove this attribute node for now. I'm going to go to geometry nodes. Let's add in another store named attribute. And I'm going to remove this value connected right here and Control X to remove that. This attribute name is going to be just C and add it here. Now in the shading, we're going to add an attribute node and type C here. Connect that there. Now let's see. Oh, now it's working. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, it's working now. So now what I need is another light. It's going to be a light spotlight, and I want to add some shadows on this. So bring it right here to the corner there, and I want it on this area, so it should look like that. Go to the light settings, and the power is going to be 40,000, 40 freaking thousand, and I'm going to use nodes. Give it a little bit of radius, and let's go to the shading tab to give it some nice noise texture to get those shadows. It's going to be used as a gobo. Let's get a math node here and set it to greater than or less than, and connect that to the strength. Hit Ctrl T on the noise texture and connect the normal to the vector. Scale that up. And based on what shadows you like, this is the scale controller, and play with that. Let's give it some radius as well. And I'm going to give it some lower threshold. Make it 40, and in the W, type hash frame divided by 3000 or 3500. It will control the speed and it will animate the values. So based on what you like, you can animate that. Now that's good. Let's bring up the spot size a little bit. I need more size here. If I go back, but we're going to require some lights on here as well. So let's just select that and Shift T to duplicate it. Very simple. I'm going to put it right here. Shift T to duplicate again. Put it in the back of the product. Give it a power of 500. Scale it up. That's the backlighting. You want to add one right there as well to the side. Double R. Move it, bring it down. And that's all you gotta do. Scale it down a little bit and make it 200 power. Also want one right here to give that gloss a little bit of a reflection. So right here, I'm going to duplicate that light. Scale it down. Double R. Set the power to something like 70. And that's it. What we're missing is a background plane gradient, which is very important in this situation. So let's see where our camera is. Our camera is right here, so opposite to that camera, I'm going to add in a plane. Let's bring it up right here, and in the Constraints tab, let's add in a Track to Constraint and select the camera in it. Scale up the plane, center it, scale it up, and it fills the camera view. That's enough. Let's bring it a little bit back from the product so it's not too near to the product. So let's just bring it back just like this and grab it to the center, scale it up. I guess that's fine. Let's apply the track to, and now select the empty right here so that it's active and hit Ctrl P, keep transform. So when the empty is rotating or scaling, the plane is gonna do that with it. Select the plane and let's give it a simple background material. So this is going to be my background. Remove the principled BSDF, add in a gradient texture, set it to quadratic sphere, I think. Connect that to the surface. Now you can just add a map range in here or a color ramp, whatever you want, and make it smoother step. After this, you can add a math as well and play with these values. In the 2 minimum value, let's bring it up a little bit. That is fine. Let's go over here, and in there, I set the compositor to always, so the compositing I do in here now will be always visible in the viewport. And now let's add in a color balance node. First one is going to be a little bit darker, so the value is 0.944 or something. And let's make it a little bit bluish. That means it is going to be cooler, and if you make it reddish, it's going to be warmer. Now let's bring up this value a little bit, so yeah, we get that brightness. And right there we have the look. I'm going to set it to high contrast or medium high contrast, whatever you want. Now let's go to the timeline, and I'm going to hit G to grab this a little bit and then scale it up. Yeah, so this is good. This gradient is always going to be in our scene, and the corners are not going to appear or anything like that. Let's go to the shading tab. I'm going to give it a little bit of minimum value so that it's not too dark at that area. I like that. I haven't given any material to the bows right there, but let's give it one. I'm going to turn them on, and right here, they are going to have the same material. So let's create a new material and just drag and drop it on top of all of them. You can give it to them manually too, but I like to do it this way. And I will select this one. I'm going to bring down the roughness a little bit. Let's hide the instance for a while so that it's not intersecting. Now you can give it any color that you want, but I don't know, I'm going to just leave it white. But every color looks awesome with it. I think we're still going to leave it like that. Just turn off the collection again and hit Alt H to get the instance back. Because we discussed this, we don't want the actual collection, we want the instance of that so that we can hide it or make it appear. So they have the geometry node system off. I'm going to turn them on. And in the shader of them, it has this color name. So I'm going to type C in here. Now, this is very important because in the geometry node system, it was the same system for 3 of them. I changed the attribute from color to C. So in all the materials, you just need to type C instead of color. If I type C here, or right here as well, I type C, the color is changing. This one did not change because it was already white. You can see both values are white. Let's get into the last scene and do a quick lighting. I think in this scene, I need my camera to be a little bit more on the center, I guess, and focusing on the product. So let's rotate it, scale it, insert, location, rotation, and scale. Just save this file, and now right here we have this spotlight that we're going to use in the next scene as well. So Control C to copy on that, and go to scene.001. Control V to paste it here. And make sure if your light speed is too high, we have animated the W value on this noise texture here. So if it's too fast, you're going to divide it by a bigger number. And if it's too slow, you're going to divide it by a smaller number. So I'm going to bring this light up right there. The effect is not going to be visible in Eevee, so let's go to cycles. And I always do 30 FPS. This is very important to make your animations look smoother. And this is going to be RGB. So basically, these are the same settings that you're going to do for the first scene. So just copy them. I can't do it again and again. So the compression is going to be 5%, and select your output folder from there as well. Now, these are the basic settings, and we don't need any environment here. That's fine. I'm going to select the phone right here and turn on the geometry nodes on it. The color attribute is changed to C, so let's go to geometry nodes. I'm going to type C here and click this plus button. So now I got the attribute right there. Let's go to the shading tab again. And now we want some more lights because this is not working alone on that. It just doesn't look good. So I'm going to bring down the scale first. Shift A to add in a light, area light. GZ, bring it up, scale it up, give it a power of 1000 or 500. 1000 works for me, I guess. I'm going to rotate it a little bit and shift it to duplicate it, double R to rotate it, and bring it back right here. You can use it for anything that you want. Let's select the phone right here, and I think the values are too high there, so let's bring it down a little bit. Control Shift click. I'm gonna make this a little bit low saturated. You can give a material to the cloth, but I would like to keep it simple like that. The wrinkles and all that are enough to make the cloth realistic, but we haven't done any compositing, so it looks a little bit boring. We're gonna get always compositing here. And in the compositor, use nodes, Control Shift click, join them, and let's add in a color balance node. This is going to be 0.95. This is going to be bluish, and bring this up a little bit. And it looks much better now. Just play around with your colors and all that. You've got yourself a very satisfying animation. Let's see how this animation looks like. Look at that. So that was it for this chapter, and I'll see you in the chapter 3. And who knows what is it about, but it's gonna be something awesome. So I'll see you there.